forward to Fear Street Prom Queen. I loved the Fear Street
Yeah.
books as a kid. I loved the Netflix trilogy. And I love the premise that it's going to be about a bunch of high school girls competing for prom queen. And then it says an unlikely candidate emerges and then people start disappearing one by one. So I think that that's a really fun premise.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, so you think potentially they've come up with quite a fresh idea to do something a little bit different. I know. Well, I know they did a lot of books. So is that an idea taken from one of the books,
I
or
believe so. Yeah,
okay?
it is a book that I was thinking about reading it before the show comes out, but considering how loosely they based it on the original trilogy, I'm like,
Hmm.
I don't want to get my hopes up. So I'll wait until after it comes out.
Started doing horror movies and stuff together, reviews. We actually did the Fear Street trilogy as our first video, so I think because of that it sort of holds a bit of a special place. Question about one of your videos, because I know you've recently done the trends video for this year, horror trilogies as one of the trends in it, and I was wondering, because it is a little bit of a different way to do like franchises in some ways than the norm, where if it's quite successful there's a chance they'll keep maybe doing new sequels to it and stuff. So do you think the approach of doing a trilogy is a good way to do it, or are you a bit more mixed on it?
That is a really good question. Um, I have mixed feelings because I feel like some of these trilogies that have come out have had very weak first installments, and I'm like, have they already filmed the sequels? Or I'm assuming that they did, but I'm like, are you going to give theatrical releases to all of them? I'm thinking of The Strangers right now. Was
Hmm.
not a fan of the first chapter at all, although I was kind of interested in how they left it. They left it on a very big cliffhanger. Um, and so I'm kind of like wondering what they're going to be doing with that movie, if they're going to have the character, the I don't really give spoilers if anyone hasn't seen it, even though it's not a great film. I'll just say the surviving character, if this person is going to come back, if that's going to be like the thing that ties the three movies together. But like on its own, it wasn't that great. So
Yeah.
I kind of wonder, like a film like that wouldn't have gotten a sequel if it hadn't been pitched as a trilogy already and marketed as a trilogy and all that stuff. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings. But then when it's done really well, like with the Fear Street movies and um, Halloween up until the last one,
Okay.
and what else has it been done recently? I think also the Resident Evil movies, they kind of plan to stop it after the third one, and the quality does kind of go down after that one. So there's a part of me that's like, maybe they should have ended it there. Although those were all
Yeah.
cheesy fun, but
Yeah.
so I don't know. I think it just depends, but I will say I'm a little bit concerned. Oh, The Exorcist is another one where the first installment was so bad that I heard that they canceled it, and then I heard rumors that Mike Flanagan's going to be involved now. So I'm like, I don't know if that's a different Exorcist or if they're rebooting it again, or if they are planning on connecting those two. But it seems like it's happened multiple times now where they talked a big game about how we're going to have three film series, and then the first one does so poorly that there's like a big question mark on if they should even continue with the series or if they should drop it. And then if they drop it, it's like it's kind of makes the audience lose faith in the production company and everybody involved a little bit because you're promising a sequel that you're not going to deliver on. So I think it
Yeah.
can cause problems if it's not done very well and if the first installment isn't the main focus. And then also from a writer's perspective, if you're planning on churning out a new movie every year and you're not a writer that's used to doing that and you don't have a really good first installment, then your attention's divided because you're maybe so focused on the big picture that you're not giving each movie its own time, I think. think maybe that's what happened with the first Strangers film. They're so focused on, okay, how do we get to the second film, which is probably going to be a revenge film, that the first one kind of felt like a not so great remake of the first Strangers film, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was relieved I got in to see that for free, Madison. That's good. I used one of my monthly free tickets, and I was relieved I got to do it for the channel. But watching it was a bit like a fever dream, and it was, and it's a shame because I like that actress from Riverdale. I think she's really talented, but I think she was totally wasted in that movie, and yeah,
Yeah.
and it doesn't bode well moving forward. And I think because it bombed as well, that there might be some doubt over whether. But in a way, it seems like they're a bit committed now because they signed up to a trilogy. And that's partly what you're getting at, is that maybe sometimes they shouldn't get too ahead of themselves until they know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we need some kind of like probationary contract where it's like
Mm.
they pitched it as a trilogy. They have an idea for a sequel, but it's not a given, which is, I think they did that with The Black Phone. I read somewhere, because
Mm.
I'm a little skeptical about the sequel that's coming out this year, but now I have a little bit more of an open mind whenever I found out that Joe Hill had actually pitched it as having a sequel whenever he
Okay.
pitched the first, and and it got funded, it did very well. And so yeah, so then they announced that they're going to do a sequel, and I think that's the way to go. I think that if they are pitching something as a trilogy, maybe it should stay in the writer's room and stay like kind of a secret until until the first one does well, until the first film proves itself. And if your film can't stand on its own without needing to promote it as, it's just the first part in a series, if it's not good enough on its own, it's probably not, people aren't going to be excited about the other
Yeah.
ones. Like when they did the Halloween trilogy, I don't remember hearing that it was a trilogy. At least at the time I watched it, I didn't know. I thought it was just a really good standalone.
I
And
was going to
when I
say
found out
that.
they were going to do more, I was excited. But yeah, it stands on its own, and I think that's something that everybody needs to remember when they're pitching a trilogy, is that the first one has to be good enough that if it was the only one that's made, that's still going to be satisfying for the viewers, instead of, yeah, like you said, the big question mark of should we even continue at this point.
Yeah, because I did actually think of Halloween, and I only just had that from you talking there because, yeah, because it definitely wasn't flagged up when they did 2018 that it was going to be like a trilogy. And even though they do that little gut punch at the end of the title, I mean, they did a gut punch at the end of the original Halloween. So just doing a little bit of a tease or a cliffhanger in a horror movie isn't always a signal that you're necessarily going to get. And I mean, in the end, we did get it because the first one did so well. So the money dictated it. But I mean, yeah, I think there is sometimes you can put a bit of a limitation on yourselves by saying, okay, this is going to be a trilogy. Sometimes it's best to just wait and see. Firstly, how well the first movie did, but also then if you have an idea for a follow up later on. Back to the books ideas, like another one of your interests. I mean, sometimes it makes sense when you do a trilogy of movies because they're based on a trilogy of books. So you already have those natural stories, and then it's just a case of how you adapt them. But if you pin yourself into a corner and you have to come up with these original ideas to tie it together in a trilogy, because I think that's why the Back to the Future trilogy is such a satisfying trilogy, and why it's almost a textbook how you do a trilogy, because I think those are films that complement each other, but they also add to the other movies. They add ideas, and they kind of play about with the formula a little bit. So I think that's one of the textbook trilogies because it sort of shows how you do it, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a while since I've seen them too, but I do remember I really enjoyed those films, and
Yeah.
yeah, they had like clever nods to each other and lots of reoccurring jokes and felt really connected. So yeah, that's definitely, and it's interesting that you mentioned adapting from a book and how since there's already source material that you're not trying to hurry up to come up with things because and then also people might be expecting a sequel if it's based on a book series because that's what they did with the Divergent series. Everybody was so sure it was going to be really successful because Hunger Games and Harry Potter were all the rage and they had done so well in the box office. And then the second to last one did so poorly that they weren't even going to make the last film. And then I think that they did, but it ended up being like direct to TV or something. I don't really follow the series, but I remember when they announced they weren't going to make the last one. It was like, okay, so nothing is guaranteed apparently. It's an interesting thing to think about, though. Is that
are you talking? Sorry, are you talking about the most recent Hunger Games that you sort of had?
Oh no, it wasn't Hunger Games. It was Divergent.
Sorry, I missed what you said. Divergent. Yeah,
was kind of what made that sort of young adult dystopian romance triangle kind of genre so popular.
Yeah.
No, it was Divergent that didn't get the last film.
Okay.
They had to switch some. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember at least at one point they canceled it like in the middle of the series, and I was like, wow, I'm so glad I'm not a fan of that series because what a bummer. But yeah, I mean that just kind of shows that nothing is ever completely promised, even whenever you are adapting from a series. But,
it's always a shame, isn't it, when you're invested, like if you are one of the fans. I always feel sorry, even if it's something I don't care about. I think, I do believe in, up to a point, satisfying the fans and fans at least getting to see the trilogy play out if they're expecting the trilogy. Yeah, it is a shame.
I would have been devastated. I love that. And I thought about reading Divergent, and then I heard that news, and I was like, okay, I'm glad that's not me.
Yeah.
Having to suffer in this disappointment. But yeah, that's rough.
Where? Back to the future!
Our love is a curious thing. Make a one-man